Hey everybody, Dr. Phil here. So this is going to be a video on demographics and social stratification. So let's talk a little bit about what we mean by demographics. So when we talk about demographics, we're basically talking about things like somebody's education, somebody's occupation, vocationally, like what do they do for a living, how old are they, their age, how much money do they make, their income. And we think about this in a frame of reference under the purview of population size and distribution. Now, understanding American generations. A generational age cohort is a group of persons who have experienced a common social, political, historical, and economic environment. Cohort analysis is the process of describing and explaining the attitudes, values, and behaviors of an age group, as well as predicting its future attitudes, values, and behaviors. We can think about the boom generation. If we compare these to prior generations, the boomers are higher income, they typically have higher education. The boomers tend to be typically more tech savvy, not always, but most times. And they're defining retirement differently. Um, Boomers are also a strong market for products that deal with appearance because they're very appearance oriented, right? Very appearance focused and oriented. They're often alienated by the focus on youth demographics in ads. So this is actually something that kind of upsets them, if you will, alienates them. Now, the baby boom generation is entering its 60s and 70s, particularly among older boomers. Major or chronic health problems, like incontinence, are increasingly likely and will hamper their active lifestyles. As a result, a demand is being created for products that do not disrupt this lifestyle, such as Depend undergarments for men. Depend guards and shields provide security and protection against bladder control issues that arise for these on-the-go consumers. And then also understanding American generations, we can talk and focus our attention now and shift to Generation X. So Generation X is smaller than previous generations. They have an entrepreneurial approach to jobs, less prone to devote life to a large corporation, looking more for a sort of healthy and sustainable work-life balance. They're typically highly educated, with more college attendance and graduates than previous generations. Gen X women are typically more highly educated than men. They're both cynical and sophisticated about products, ads, and shopping. So they're not easily sort of, you know, brought in, if you will. More diverse and open to diversity than previous generations, and more tech savvy than previous generations. Also, with respect to Generation X, we can also speak about the empowerment of Gen X women, which often extends beyond their careers. One study shows that across all generations, Exo women are the highest viewers of home improvement media and the most likely to engage in home improvement projects, including adding a room onto the house. The Home Depot ad targets Gen Xers interested in home improvement by providing both the materials and the guidance needed for these consumers to get more done on their home projects. Now let's take a look and shift our focus to Generation Y. So the Hispanic segment is larger than previous generations when we're talking about Generation Y. Finishing college, starting careers, and focusing on financial stability is also a common hallmark of Generation Y. Factors they believe make their generation unique. They're certainly prone to technology use. They have a distinct music and pop culture. They believe themselves to be tolerant, intelligent, and they have there's a big emphasis on a big premium. They place a big premium on clothes and how they dress and how they look. Now, Generation Z, sometimes known as the digital natives, um, I generation, the net generation is probably digital natives, sometimes digital nomads are both commonly used epithets for Generation Z. Pretty impressive purchasing power, about 140 billion in purchasing power. They emphasize self-expression and authenticity. They want to be able to interact with the brands instead of being talked at by the brands. So they're looking for something more of a two-way street in that sense. Also, with regard to Generation Z, and speaking about Generation Z, Gen Zers care about self-expression and authenticity. They expect brands to be real, not fake. The ad shows Snapchat's website, a social media platform preferred by Generation Z. This platform excites users to share their creativity while providing them the ability to control who sees their communications. In this example, Snapchat encourages users to showcase their creativity through imaginative ways to cook eggs. Okay, let's talk now about social stratification. So we're all familiar with the concept of social class, but most of us would have difficulty explaining our class system to someone outside the US. Societal rank is one's position relative to others on one or more dimensions valued by society, also referred to as social class and social standing. A social class system is a hierarchical division of a society into relatively distinct and homogeneous groups with respect to attitudes, values, and lifestyles. Distinct social classes do not really exist in the US or most other industrialized societies. They probably did at one time. Most of those lines have sort of been blurred and even eradicated. Now, continuing with this theme of social stratification, status dimensions such as parental status, education, occupation, and income set limits on one's lifestyle, including one's residence. So we have this idea of status crystallization, which is moderate in the US, and it reflects the consistency of these status dimensions. So here we see figure 4.2, social standing which is derived and influences behavior. So on the left, in the red box, we see socio-economic factors. So these could include such things as occupation, education, ownership, income, and heritage. And that moves over to social standing in the blue box in the middle, where we see upper class, middle class, working class, and lower class. And then that transfers over to unique behaviors, which can inform preferences, purchases, consumption, and communication. And here we see the upward pull strategy that's targeted at the middle class. So we have the middle class, we have the aspirations to belong to the upper middle class. So what they're saying there is the goal of a lot of people, a lot of individuals in the middle class is to sort of go up to the upper middle class, if you will. So they prefer products that are consumed by the upper middle class, perhaps, fancier cars, nicer cars, for example. And that speaks to positioning. Upper class symbolism and middle class products. So let's talk now about what we call middle Americans. Members of the middle class represent the primary target for the good and services of home improvement centers, garden shops, and automotive parts houses. They seek out bargains without sacrificing quality. This Callaway's Nursery Rewards program, shown here on the right in the picture, will appeal to the middle class's focus on their homes as well as their desire for value by offering program members exclusive benefits and savings opportunities. And demographics or social status. So social status is largely derived from demographics. When you think about it, that makes sense. That is, one's income, education, and occupation go a long way toward determining one's social class or status. Should marketers use an overall measure of social status, a multi-item index, or a demographic variable such as income? Unless marketers are interested in social standing per se, they will most likely focus on demographic characteristics as direct influencers on consumer behavior. Okay, that's all for this video. I will see you all again in a future video.